We are live.
We are live.
Welcome back to what's the day today?
It is.
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Welcome back to Tuesday's episode of For Evan's Sake Daily. My name is Neil Date Evans.
And I'm Nina Evans.
And we bring you the news from a parenting perspective. Today, Prince Andrew has decided to rear his ugly head again.
As always.
Boris Johnson is broke. That story's crazy. And there are new proposed laws for landlords to make them act quicker if a tenant reports mould in the house. So we're going to get into all of those. Plus, of course, we have our parenting conundrum. But first, Prince Andrew. So in all of the, pardon me, in all of the recent news, the news has been focused on one particular royal. And one would think that this particular role that we've been focused on would have been the one that has done some
madness.
Madness.
Yes.
And it's not.
It kind of did a madness out in his family's business, but
I still feel like everything that Harry has done is not comparable.
Not in the slightest, not even in the same realm.
But this man doesn't get the airtime.
Yeah.
And so today he's going to get some airtime. And stupidly enough, and I think this just speaks to privilege. Imagine that you've been accused of this thing, and we all know that you did it, okay? Your nephew is catching bullets on a daily basis in the press. Instead of you to just be like, let me just hang in the back here, let Harry take all the bullets. You're like, nah, I want some smoke. So we're not talking about you, but now you've decided that you're going to launch an investigation or a case or whatever you want to call it because you want your money back.
It's a counter lawsuit, isn't it?
That's the one. There you go. Yeah. So it's a counter lawsuit against Virginia Giuffre because, he has decided. And I think he's literally only doing this because his mum's dead. And so he can get away with it now.
I would think so, because if you think like they wanted to wrap up Prince Andrew's situation before the Jubilee.
Yeah.
So we don't know. He may have literally have been like, I am not paying this woman a jot. And maybe that's why the Queen did pay for it, because he was like, it's not coming out of my money. Where now, the process is coming into fruition. He may be like, well, now I'm going to put forward my defense because we never heard it.
And in his defense, one of the reasons why he is doing this, he basically consulted his lawyers, and it became apparent that this same woman recently dropped a sexual abuse claim against a US lawyer called Alan Dershowitz. And she admitted that she, quote, may have made a mistake in claiming that he had abused her as a teenager.
Right. So it's quite that man.
Yeah.
Right.
No. She's saying, So
this guy, it's there's no doubt that she was involved with him and was around and was, being farmed out to various people, but going after that particular lawyer is now like, actually, maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I can see why, from Andrew's perspective, given everything, that you would be like, hang on,
there's a
chink of light here. There's an opening
something here. Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a hard one, because there is that point of, if you absolutely are maintaining, I am innocent and my only guilt is having an association with this man, that lots of people had a relationship with him, you may want to fight it. That was the whole thing of them paying. It's like, if you're saying you're innocent, why are you paying her 12 million?
Well, but again, it's like, if you don't have a say in the matter, and this money, whichever pot of money he's going to dip into to do this, let's not pretend that this is his hard-earned money, because you come from a family that lives off our money.
Yeah.
So even if you're like, no, this is money that I've earned through whatever, any of your dodgy businesses, trying to sell people, trying to take shares in people's companies and whatnot.
He does all of that.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's still our money.
Yeah. Well, his privilege, his power base is all due to the public having a royal family and him being a part of it.
That's it.
And that's what he's been trading on. As a prince, it's like, I can introduce you to this person. Me being affiliated with your company gives you this type of cachet. That's how he's been making his money. Yeah. That's why Charles removed him from having an address at a residency at Buckingham Palace, because he was using the address to still make money.
Even that, I feel like it really didn't get the fanfare.
No, like it was because they know what they're doing. As Harry says, they feed him whenever there's a story going out, because that Andrew story, that is mad. Like, literally, your brother is now like, you can't use Buckingham Palace. That is a real note of, we have no faith in you.
Is there a family more dysfunctional than the royal family?
They lead the charge in dysfunction. I think it's generational. Like, it's non-stop. But I guess for Andrew, he probably is really scrapping at, I need to get some type of reputation back, because he's losing it all. And you know, on the royal streets, they are saying that the family is fighting in various different directions.
I can imagine they are.
Beatrice and Eugenie are now like trying to side with their dad, so they're against William Kate and the king. Like, there's lots of different
like most
factions.
families. I think the other part of this story that made me laugh is, like, you know, sometimes when you're in trouble, you have a friend who has your best interests at heart, but you really need them just to shut up. Okay. So in all of this, Ghislaine, I never pronounce it right. Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously former girlfriend of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has piped up. So she did
Head Madam as well.
She did an interview recently from jail.
Right.
And she said that her, quote, dear friend, the Duke, you know, is basically innocent and basically just trying to fight his case. But it's like, you don't need this woman and her reputation speaking for you.
No, unless she's going to pipe up and say, it wasn't him, he didn't do anything, and it was this businessman, just be quiet. Well, because we need a list from her. And
she also, in that interview, I think it was with Jeremy Kyle for Talk TV, she also said, it makes me laugh, because, like, is this a revelation? She was like, I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
No shit, Sherlock. We all know he didn't.
It's like what? Like, did you think you were giving us some juice?
Give us the list.
I don't think there's anybody that thought that.
Yeah, like, okay, and
the rest, and
it's
more.
What the interviewer need to ask, and what else are you going to share with us today?
She is definitely not the person you want or need in your corner defending your name.
The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew called on that favour.
Then you're stupid.
But has he not always been?
This is true.
When Jeffrey Epstein first got arrested, and then it was like, you need to disassociate, like everybody else did. Why is there footage of him going to see him in New York?
There's no, like, look, you know, you meet people, you find out certain things about them, you use your discernment and you disassociate. It doesn't need to be I'm not speaking to you. No. You just, you know what I mean? Like, certain times
other people
calls aren't getting answered, because I don't need you in my aura. I don't need you in my circle. But you never had the foresight. None of this made you think, you know what? I really like this guy and he's really cool to me. However,
this is messy and I should probably not go and visit him in New York. What happened to telephone calls?
Like, simple common sense.
You can't just call
simple common sense.
You're going to fly there. So that association of guilt is there because you were going above and beyond to keep communication going with him. That is a bit like you were trying to secure, don't talk about my stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. We all know how those conversations went down.
Keep on going. He can keep on doing whatever he wants to because the truth is going to come out.
It will.
And sometimes this is what people do, innit? Instead of just shutting up and being quiet in your last few decades on this earth, you want to now get involved.
As you said,
you want to bumba again.
He's tried to claw his reputation back. But you know, I mean, good luck to that man. Well, no, I don't even mean that. I don't even mean that at all. I wish this man would go away. Like, I really wish he would go
or
away.
go inside. Like that. This is I mean, we know he's probably never going to do any time or anything, but let's see what comes of this.
Let's see. So moving from one lying privileged man to another lying privileged man, our former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. I think this story is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So in 2020, when we all experienced, the thing that is we now know as COVID, this man was on his knees, basically, had no money. Okay. So they claim, so the story claims. And he managed to get himself an £800,000 loan. Okay. So that in itself, so even if you take out, let's just say that he's got this loan.
Not remortgage. This is a
loan.
A loan.
This is a loan.
He's managed to leverage. Okay.
Okay. So even that in itself, yeah.
Prime Minister
of the UK. What? And just bearing in mind, we had Conservative MPs earlier on this week telling nurses to manage
budget better. Budget better on 30,000 a year. Budget better. So as the Prime Minister, what are they on? It's like 127 or something?
I think it's more than that. I think it's about 140, 150.
And you're on your knees that you needed to go and get a loan for 800,000. Okay. Budgeting, huh?
So that all of that on its own is enough to be like, what the heck?
What's going on?
But then you add in how he got this loan. And obviously this has come about because the BBC chairman, Richard Sharp, has ordered an internal inquiry into potential conflicts of interest amid claims that he helped Boris Johnson secure a loan of up to £800,000. Now, there is a millionaire called Sam Blythe, who is a relative of Mr. Johnson. And trust me, as I read these things, you just hear how ludicrous it is. Okay, who allegedly stepped in to act as a guarantor for up to £800,000 of credit to fund the ex-Prime Minister's lavish lifestyle when he found himself in financial trouble in 2020.
Wow, okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So Richard Sharp, okay, this is the BBC chairman,
right,
is a former Tory donor,
yes,
okay, who was appointed as chair while Mr. Johnson was in number 10, has now become embroiled in the row when he admitted into introducing the ex-Prime Minister's distant Canadian cousin to Cabinet Secretary Simon Case. Okay?
Right.
So now the Commissioner for Public Appointments, William Shawcross, has also said he would review the competition, which led to Mr. Sharp's appointment. So you were directly responsible for my man getting
a very lucrative and powerful job.
Okay. And then in turn, he managed to introduce you to this man.
Yes.
That gave you, not even in turn. First of all, he introduces you to this man that
is like, I can be your guarantor, and we're kind of related.
And then he gets a job at the BBC, where you as Prime Minister have a lot of influence.
Yeah. And he does.
And we're supposed to believe
this is all coincidence. Like, no, there's nothing to this. There was no deals being done. It's just... No.
Boris Johnson himself dismissed it as, quote, absolute rubbish. The mocking continues, like on a daily basis from this government. The mocking continues. And I'm tired. Aren't we all tired? Are we not tired?
I wouldn't, when they have like that kind of minister's code of conduct, I wouldn't have thought any of this would be okay while you are the Prime Minister.
It's not. So I was following this story yesterday, and there was a gentleman who called up one of the radio stations who is an ex-civil servant. And he told of a story where a colleague was denied a promotion within the civil service because obviously they go through an extra level of security, blah, 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 blah. And this guy had taken out a loan to get his bathroom remodeled.
Yeah.
Okay. But because he has a loan, okay, it's deemed that now you are susceptible.
Yes.
So like now Mr. Russian person can come along and say, I pay off this loan and you do this for me. And you do this,
precisely that. Or the loan company, whatever interest they have, they can now come to you and be like, and then if this works out and if that... So
And that guy lost his job. Well, he didn't get the job.
You would think that this was in the Prime Minister. This would be a code that you are not allowed, because okay, you need a loan as a family. He had a long-term girlfriend then, like, so she couldn't get the loan. Like, it's like, why is the loan in your name? Like, there's other people that could get the loan, and that you are embroiled in this kind of free-handed deal. What are you doing for the Canadian man?
Well, one would like to know. One would like to know. I mean, maybe that's a favour that hasn't been called in yet. I mean, but also this is the same Prime Minister that couldn't pay for wallpaper in.
Well, he got the whole place refitted, and that was on the public's dime. So what are you spending your money on, bruv?
Our Prime Minister was broke. The whole time that he was broke. Like, well, not even broke, just not managing his money. But this is the same man from the same party that will continually tell you how to manage your money.
But a lavish lifestyle on what? Because it ain't a barber.
I wouldn't like to say.
Like, he needed to spend some money getting his hair done.
He probably needed the money to deal with all of his baby mothers.
There is that.
And his children, and the ones that he don't claim.
He definitely is probably funding quite a few households. I'll give him that, because there's a lot of kids.
800 grand's worth of households?
No, that is a crazy loan to get. That's a crazy loan to get with a full-time, high-powered job. Where's it going? Yeah. Like, are you funding your business?
And surely we should be entitled. And now I might be reaching now. I don't know, but surely we must be entitled to see a breakdown of where this money went and how it was spent. I know it's his private finances, but as the fact that you received this in public office.
Yeah, I think we need another Conservative inquiry. Everybody needs to be looked into. They're so corrupt.
They all need to
They can't talk about corruption anywhere else in the world. These guys are the worst. They're not even trying to. They're like the 80s sleaze. Constant sleaze of Conservatives. They're the worst.
If you think about it now, this is a bad week for Rishi Sunak, because obviously you had his gaff at the top of the week in the back of the car. Then you've got Nadeem Zahawi fighting for his life, trying to, you know what was funny about that story, which we never touched on yesterday, was that throughout all of this man threatened to sue people for saying that he hadn't paid his taxes. Meanwhile, you hadn't paid your taxes.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, it was an oversight.
Like, you were threatening to sue people. And so Rishi has that as well. And now you got Boris doing this as well.
Yeah.
It don't look good for you.
And it's never easy swapping out who's running the BBC and everything. It's a big job. He's got a lot going on, but did he not say that he was the man for the job? He was good for the hard decisions.
And the cheek of it, when Rishi obviously swooped in after Liz, there was rumours that this guy was still trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, Boris, yeah.
Still trying to make a comeback. Like we haven't had enough.
That's just... Maybe he was like getting ready to fund how he was going to get back into power. Because I'm like, 800,000.
Mate.
Well, whatever the Canadian guy is asking for, he needs to, because that's a lot of money.
Yeah. If I'm lending you 800 grand or guaranteeing a loan for 800 grand,
and you're in financial strife,
you owe me.
So you ain't been able to manage your wages and all of the extra money you get.
Let's say like 150 something a year. Like, that's well over 5 grand a month. Like, well over 5 grand a month.
Yeah. Your expenses, your house is paid.
Everything is paid. What are you spending your money on?
He has like investments. He has other things. He's always like
where is this money? Like, this should be pocket money for you.
So 800, mate. I'm not guaranteed. Like, you're a walking liability.
Yeah.
Just look at him.
Yeah. Wow. 5 grand a month, for more than that. £800,000 loan. Oh, you could buy a house for that.
Yeah. Double over.
Go up north, buy 2, buy 3.
But he has properties. I am flabbergasted.
I want to know what he did with the money.
I want to know what he did with the money. I don't think it's a loan. Yeah. This is a bribe.
No, it doesn't. It's not adding up.
And he's not going to be punished for it anyway. It's like,
they never are.
No.
They never ever are. And I think that's the frustrating thing.
I still think Boris could do a comeback though.
He could,
Give
and
it
I
a
think
little
there's
bit
appetite.
longer.
I think there's appetite still. People, I think what you have to rate Boris on is he really played the game in terms of understanding how to make himself affable to the public.
Yeah.
So they were like, you know, you do this kind of bumbling, and people like that, and they're like, oh no, but he's such an intelligent man, and he is, and then he manages just to do all of his shegdeggery.
Because that's what he's been known for from since school. Teachers, everybody knew he is an absolute liar. He lies and lies and lies and gets away with it.
There was one school report where the teacher said something along the lines of that this guy thinks that the rules that apply to everybody, which makes society work, this doesn't apply to me.
No.
And you can see it. And you can see it as an adult, how it's played out.
He runs around like that in every which way, in every relationship, like literally everything. Husband, fatherhood, every relationship he has, he runs it like it's on my terms.
You see with this new one, they've had a baby as well, innit? With the Carrie one.
I think they're on their second. Are they on their second? I'm sure there's two, and they got married.
Man's got youths all over the gaff.
And allegedly, what's he on? I think it's like 7 or 8.
Yeah, and because it's never
out there.
It's never a fixed number because obviously we know he's not claiming at least one of his children.
Yeah,
insane, absolutely insane.
He ran the country and could do again.
Moving on. So there was a really horrific story not too long ago about a young toddler, who passed away. His name was Awaab Ishak. He died at the age of 2. This is back in 2020 in Rochdale.
Yeah.
And it was simply because of mould in the place where he lived.
Yeah.
And his parents were trying to get, the landlords to deal with it and look after it. And they were just kind of dragging their heels. And eventually the outcome of it was that this little boy died. So now there's been a proposed law, which is in memory of Awaab. And the law is basically to get landlords to act within a certain period of time once a tenant says that,
I have mould. Yes, definitely. Because people don't take it seriously. And it's very dangerous, but then is very hard to treat effectively as well. So that's why it's one of those. It's like, but if it's not as simple as just washing it down and painting over it.
Which a lot of people are still doing.
If you have a really bad, and that was black mold as well, like it affects our lungs, literally our breathing. You can get infections from it, viruses. It's really dangerous. But there are so many people living in social housing and rented accommodation with crazy landlords. And they're having to deal with that, having kids with asthma, eczema, like just suffering. And it doesn't get dealt with because it is expensive to deal with it. I think it's great. It definitely needs to be a law. It needs to be. Because, that's the whole reason why the Insulate people were also fighting. And, it was like an older set of people chaining themselves and stuff. It's the same thing. Our housing situation is really bad.
Yeah.
It's not built right. It's not effectively insulated. And that is why you have these different forms of molds growing in so many properties.
I think also what's happening here, or what's happened in this case, and obviously what's happening up and down the country, is indicative of how our housing market has also got out of control.
Yeah.
So the idea that now, rather than, well, not even just our housing market, the finances in this country in general are just, it's not working, because people realize years ago, actually my retirement, my pension isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then this is when people started being like, right, let's get an extra house, an extra house, an extra house. And obviously I'm talking about specifically about private landlords in this case. Let's get an extra house and what have you. So now having 1 or 2 or 3 houses has now become like people's retirement, people's pension. But then also, these are still working people going out. And so the level of care that they're able to give as landlords to these properties is diminished.
Yeah, definitely. And squeezing people in, having more people in one property that may have only have it's supposed to have 4 people in there, but you've cut it all up. So now there's 12. That affects mold as well. And it just repairs, things being in disrepair. It is crazy, but they definitely, it's one thing being like, go out there and buy property, but there does need to be real foundations for people that are in these properties, that they're looked after.
Absolutely. But even as I said, we were talking about private landlords, but even with like public landlords, like housing associations and what have you, and councils, again, like, if you lose heating, they will ask you, are there any children under the age of 5 in the house? And it makes me wonder, so if the children are 6 and 7,
it's okay to not have heating, or to run up your electricity bill by using electric heaters. It is, social housing is no better. It can be worse. Like if you follow Quadro Housing on Twitter or on Instagram and see, and he's a brilliant social housing activist, because he really does go into so many different areas and around the country, and the things that people are living under, having feces coming out of their taps, like, just, it's crazy. And the fact that you would need somebody to have a platform to speak about it for the housing association or council to do anything, it buggers belief. It is like, actually, you'll allow another human being to be living in absolute substandards, like they're not paying rent. It's not free.
We've got to a point now where one of the ways in which you can not even guarantee, but like have way more of a chance of getting action out of companies these days is literally by having to shame them publicly.
Yeah.
And it's like, how should that even be? How is this even a thing?
And it's one thing, the person doing it, you now need somebody with the relevance and reach to then also get involved in it. He is doing a phenomenal job. He did a end of year review on lots of houses that he had showcased, and so many people had been able to get moved, their repairs had been done, but this is one man, and that should be your job. You should be doing the housing repairs.
There we go.
Let's hope it becomes law.
Let's hope so. I hope. I feel like it will. What is our parenting conundrum for today?
Okay, all right. This is an interesting one.
All right.
So it's come through from a woman, put onto the Reddit threads, and she is saying that she lives with her husband and 2 children. Her husband travels quite a lot, and she had 2 young kids. They're kind of like actually it's 3. Yeah, no, it's 2 kids, but they're like 2 years apart, so they're quite young, and she has a full-time job. They installed cameras in the baby rooms, 2 baby rooms, and then also they installed a camera in the living room because, as you know, with 2 young kids, like sometimes the older one could be in the living room watching TV, and you may need to go and do something with the little one. Just so that she could review it, that was done. Her husband travels a lot, so also he could keep an eye when she was having to do other things. So they have these 3 cameras installed. Time has gone on now. They're still there, but she wasn't really thinking anybody was really, still watching it. The kids are older and the camera's there. The 3-year-old happened to move something in front of the living room camera, so it was no longer streaming. He couldn't see, and he was away. He calls up the wife, super angry that this has taken place. She then remembers, oh, there's a camera in the living room, and is a bit like, I don't actually like that you're just spying on us. And so they get into a conversation about that. Is it fair? Should that be okay? Or is there such thing as you just want your privacy?
Spying, her using the word spying is a bit strong. Also, you both fitted the cameras, hello?
Yeah.
But so it's only because you've forgotten that this thing is there, and now you're like, oh, that time when I was sitting picking my nose, he could have been watching it. You're feeling some shame from that.
Maybe.
And now you're like, well, now we don't need this thing altogether. But again, there is absolutely that. So if the cameras are there, you've both put the cameras in, you are literally mad at your husband for using the cameras for what they're supposed to be used for. Cameras are supposed to be watched.
Well, yeah, there's that. But I think it's more the case of when it was installed, it was about her being out of the room watching the littler one, and so the toddler there's still being eyes on the toddler, where that's not a thing anymore. So then now it's just you're able to be away and just watch us as we're maneuvering around the house, and that is what she's like. I don't like that I don't have any privacy, and you're able to just watch from wherever you are. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
I think there's more. I think that this signals more like a deeper issue in a relationship. Because, for example, obviously we've got a Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
And if I'm somewhere and I see the camera go off around 3:00, I know that you've gone to go and get the boys.
Yeah.
If I see it go off a little bit later, I know that you've come back.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll get like a little screenshot on my phone. And then depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I will clock in and like say, good evening, or what have you. And so I don't see anything wrong in that. It's like, that's my family. I don't actually want to be where I am doing what I'm doing. I'd actually rather be here with you. And so I'm literally just checking in. Maybe it's because he's watching and not saying anything.
I think so, because this is a couple of years and there hadn't been a discussion until it kind of came out. Like, oh yeah, no, I see this, I see that. The Ring doorbell, she does actually go on to talk about that as well. That's also there. I think she just feels like she is under surveillance and he's away a lot.
I think it's partly down to the dude. So I think that when he's home, he is probably a very controlling husband as well. And so I could even go as far as to say that when he's away, she probably appreciates the respite.
Yes. But now there's you're still watching us.
Yeah.
So the Ring doorbell, he would do similar, but I don't know, because I don't find that annoying, but somehow she was finding that annoying. Mm-hmm. It may be the comments that he was saying when she's leaving, like where you go in, that it may be something like that. But I do think it's intrusive to have a camera in your living room.
Yeah, I've never really got the living room camera. Like, I would get a camera on the externals of the house, front and back. But the living room, I don't really, and obviously our children are older now, but I wouldn't even really understand the need to do it when they were younger. I think if we had a pet, then I've seen people like use it, checking on their pets, and then they can talk to the pet, like to the dog or whatever, and say, stop that, get down, what have you. So I can understand that. But in your living room, and you see lots of I see lots of videos of like compilation fails or what have you, and their security cameras in the, now that I've said the word security, is kind of like, I guess for... Yeah. I don't know. I just always think, but wouldn't you have it off? I think this is the thing. It's not... Or you would have it on if you're not in the house.
Yes.
Like if we're all out.
Or at night when everyone's sleeping.
But there's someone in the house. You don't need to have that camera on.
I don't think... that does feel like surveillance. Like the camera's just on and you can just clock in and watch. Like, while I'm just sitting down in the living room. I just think that is, when a camera is on you, you do change. And I just think it's not okay to not have space where you're not being watched.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I could probably do the same thing that he's done. Like, I could probably like just tap into a camera and be like, oh, look at my family.
Yeah.
It's not from a, oh, what's she doing? Like, I would literally just be watching, be like, oh, look at these donuts.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want to be watched. Yeah. And it's like, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, it is. I think it probably wouldn't hurt in the same way we were talking about the thing with the Ring camera. So at least if you log on, then you'll be like, hoo-hoo, daddy's watching. And so people know that you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then if you know that the person's watching, you may then feel like you want to adjust your behavior accordingly, whatever it is.
Yeah. But it's that as well. It's those types of things. It's adjusting your behavior. When are you ever yourself then? When are you
nobody's saying you can't be yourself when the person is there watching. That individual has decided that they can't be, well, she has decided that she can't be herself if the husband is watching. You decided that.
But that's the context of everything. Everybody adjusts when there's another eye on you. Even matter does. Even light does. When light is observed, it goes through different.
Really, bro? Really?
Listen, everybody adjusts how they are when they're being watched. That's just like life.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that she has deeper issues and she probably needs to look into why she feels so.
I think the guy has deeper issues.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Of course you think that the woman.
Yeah. But even though I'm right though.
Okay. Who's right?
I am. We know that I'm right. In the comments, let
us know.
I'm
really,
right.
This is, who is right and who needs to stop and stop watching, or who needs to accept being watched. That in itself is ludicrous. But okay,
no. I don't like the way they worded that. It's not accepting that you're being watched. It's knowing that you're being watched. Anyway, so we've come. I just needed a minute to work that one out.
Okay.
But I'll be back tomorrow and I will have worked that one out.
Yeah. Let us know.
In the meantime, please share with your friends. Tell them about our little show that we do every weekday, Monday to Friday at 12 p.m. here on the Mental Excel Digital YouTube channel.
Yes.
Going live. If you've got stories that you want us to cover, please
get in contact. Share it. Let us know.
Slide in the DMs or whatever. And yeah.
Let's go. Okay.
Have a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow at 12. Bye.
Bye-bye.